So in the previous session, I went over the Dollar Shave Club, and my main goal wasn't to say, hey, look, these guys made a lot of money. It's to see what was it that enabled them to be so successful. And they understood their ideal customer. They went at them understanding what most concerns them as buyers, and then they executed extremely well. So let me share my slides here, and let's get into this for ourselves. So we've got to really understand our ideal customer. And in order to do that, we really have to get into their heads. So we want to find out what is their biggest fear, what are their biggest fears, their frustrations, and their challenges. What is it that keeps them up at night? And I think a lot of us as experts think we know what these people want. The problem is that we have a blind spot. I like to say we're contaminated. I'm an online marketer, and I am beyond thinking that I understand exactly how my customers think. And so I go to them and I ask them questions about their fears, about their frustrations, about their challenges, because as I try to sell them, as I try to attract them to what I have to offer, I have to attract them using their language, using the things that really bug them. We have a tendency as experts to focus on how we do what we do, and not what is it about what we do that most interests of the people that we're trying to sell. So let me, when I teach this program in person, I divide the group up into four different, little groups, and I assign them nail salon, lawn service, physical trainers, pet groomers. And I ask them as a group to think about what are the biggest fears, frustrations, and challenges that someone looking for a good nail salon, a good physical trainer, a good pet groomer is having. So when you're looking for a pet groomer, what is your biggest fear? What's your biggest frustration? What's your biggest challenge? And I just throw it out there. And I do this way on purpose, because this is a really difficult exercise, even if you have 4 or 5 people and you're bouncing ideas off of each other. And the reason it's difficult is because, I like to say the riches are in the niches. If I'm going after, and I'm just picking one of these, the average nail salon customer, it's such a broad audience that it's really hard to get into the heads of all of those people with one generic campaign. Because, I live with, I've raised 3 daughters. So over the years, I've lived with 4 women, the wife included. One of them is married off. But I see these ladies talk about their nail lady. And years ago, they used to all go to the same one. But now a couple of them have drifted because there's certain needs that the person that was doing their nails wasn't meeting. Some of them want, the relationship. I love this person. They, it's almost like going to see an aunt or someone, and it's the ambiance, it's the environment they like. I've got one of my daughters, it's working. She doesn't have enough time on her hands. She's a little less price sensitive, and what she wants is, I get there on time, I'm out of there in half hour, 45 minutes. She wants efficiency. She can't afford to be wasting time. She doesn't want to drive all the way to where the other person is going. So, you've got one that's a little bit more of a worker that wants to tend to their nails, but, is a little bit tight on time. You have another one that makes it more of a spa relationship thing. And then, sometimes you have younger ladies what they're wanting is to go to a spa that doesn't have a bunch of old people. So if you are wanting to target the masses, you're in big trouble, because there's no way you can have one message and reach all the people that you're trying to reach. Now, when I've given this presentation, I remember one person in particular came up and says, I'm after whatever I can get. Well, if you're not in the niches, it's almost like you're just going after as many people as you have and crossing your fingers. And as counterintuitive as it is, when you pick a niche, you're overtly, as a new business owner, and you might be looking for revenue any way you can, but you're overtly excluding people that you think could do business with you. And that's something that will grind you. I mean, it's like, do I really want to be doing this? Am I going to be shooting myself in the foot? And that's a legitimate concern. But the thing is, because people are bombarded with so many messages, you've got the 300 to 700 ads that people see every day. In order for you to rise above the noise, you have to touch base with that one person's biggest fear, their biggest challenge. So let's say time is of essence for, the lady that's running after the nail salon. Your message is kind of like, do you have time to be waiting for your nail lady? Do you have time to be driving across town in heavy traffic when you've got an appointment that you can't miss right after it, just because, your lady's running slow, running behind, or whatever? It's a different discussion, and the person who's kind of miffed at their current nail lady might notice that. And so that's just an example. So I recommend that you find a niche, and my recommendation is identify 3 specific niches. And even if you can't come up with 3, force yourself to find up with a 3rd one that you think is a toss out. And then really understand, can I talk to that audience in a very unique way so that my message resonates with them, my message connects with the things that keep them up at night. Now, let me go over some examples, because I think as I do this, I can help you with, the things that are relevant when you're picking a niche. So I was working with a diamond wholesaler, and their main job was supplying diamonds to, the larger jewelry stores. And they're in a business that's very competitive. The margins, they do well, but their margins are tight. There's only so much money you can make on a diamond, because if you go over some sort of pricing levels, you price yourself out of the market. So I had this one wholesale jeweler that was really good at building engagement rings. Now, the nice thing about engagement rings is the markup is really good. If you have the right, manual labor, expertise on your team, you can build the gold and the mounting for the diamond and sell a diamond at a pretty good margin. And so, these people, now that they have 3D printers, have the ability to take, the designs, pictures from a magazine or something that a guy would show up with, and show them, hey, here's what the ring is going to look like. And it won't be in gold, it'll be in, like a plastic, but they can come up and say, wow, that looks good. And then, they can come up and say, hey, that's what your ring is going to look like. Are you good with that? And they say, yeah. They make the ring, put the diamond on it, and now, they sell. So they had a really good ability to deliver on the rings. So I start asking them, well, what are the kind of, what are the things that people that, that are in your discussions with your, these guys, right? Because it's a guy buying a ring for his girl, right? And they were talking about the 4 C's, the color, the carats, the clarity, and there's a 4th one, clarity, color. Anyway, so there are 4 C's. They're talking like diamond wholesalers, the quality. And if you have, it's a little too yellow, the price goes down. If you bump it up with the carat, and cut is the other one. Is it a diamond? Is it an emerald cut? Is it a pear cut? All those kind of things. And I started thinking to myself, I go, guys, does the guy who's coming in to buy the ring really care about all those details? And, of course, this is super important. And I go, I think you guys are either blindsided or you're contaminated by your own knowledge. So we went out and we started doing some surveys. I went out and I have a set of questions that I ask people when we're trying to get, what are their concerns, right? And we're asking them specific questions like, when you're buying a diamond engagement ring, what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest frustration? What's your biggest challenge. And one of the things we found is that here I am, I'm a guy. I got this honey that, I'm in love with. I'm going to propose to her and I'm getting her this ring. Let's assume the girl's happy. She wants to marry you. She's cool. What's the first thing she does when she sees that ring? She looks at it, takes a picture, puts it on social media. She wants all her friends, oh, we got engaged, right? The guy's biggest fear, what we identified, is that she would put it up on the internet and then she'd be a little bit either ashamed or not thrilled, or that her friends would say, oh, I guess the guy doesn't have enough money or whatever, or that the girl got the ring and then kind of missed the mark. The guy missed the mark. It's like, that's really pretty and the diamond's really the right size, but I wanted more of a Tiffany sort of look versus what you got me. So it was, is the girl going to have a oh hum sort of response to the ring? And that has very little to do with the quality, the clarity, and the cut. Well, the cut, yes, because the cut is something the girl will notice. But unless she starts looking under a microscope, or unless you buy like just a really bad diamond, most women are going to look at the diamond, unless they're experts, and go, oh, the diamond's pretty nice. Wow, look at the ring. And so here they were trying to, talk about their the quality of their product to their audience using their wholesale diamond, wholesaling vocabulary, and they were totally missing the mark. So that's just one example. And I illustrate this because we all have to go through this. What is it that's really holding people back from doing business, not just with us, but with anybody in our industry? What are the things that make them nervous, get them concerned? Here's another example. So, if you look at all the commercials nowadays, you see a ton of commercials. You got the one with the owl, and they're advertising that you can get 2 pairs of glasses for $60 or, whatever the prices are. It's very price conscious, very funny oriented. They want to grab your attention. That's really what they're out about. Now, now these are also people that have huge marketing budgets and they can buy huge spends on, TV advertising or, other sort of expensive advertising. I've got it's a relative of mine that he's an optometrist and he's an optician as well. And they have, a small office here in Miami. And what they found is that the elderly in Miami, particularly the Hispanic ones that are within like a 2 to 3 mile radius of their office, have a hard time getting to the doctor, are lonely, and going to doctors is almost like a hobby. And so they took that knowledge, and what they did is they started catering specifically to the elderly, mostly retired, over 65, a ton of them way over 65. I go to the office, I get my glasses with them. They got super killer glasses, but they don't ever market to me. They don't really cater to me because I'm a cousin and I'm the guy that they service, and I go there because the price is right. But their bread and butter is going after this hyper niche market that's big enough for them to be more than successful in their business. And everything they do is aimed at attracting and making these folks happy. They've got a driver with a van that goes around the towns, picks people up at their homes. If they're like at an assisted living facility, it'll pick them up in mass. So it's the Wednesday drive is always to that one center. They bring them all in. You go into their office. Their office is actually a little bit bigger than you'd think it need to be, but it's very wheelchair accessible. And, I go in there as the young guy and I have to watch out for these commandos in these huge and very fast wheelchairs, make sure I don't get run over, because some of these older people, their eyesight's not that great until they get the glasses. And a lot of them, just aren't all there. But they know that market. And then they have a guy who comes by the lobby selling Cuban pastelitos and different things that the Cuban Hispanic population loves. And it's a social hour for these people. The younger people that go there like me are kind of annoyed. It's kind of like, whatever, I got to go somewhere. But these old people look forward to this. And this has absolutely nothing to do with eyeglasses and how good you are as a, as an eye doctor and as an optician, as someone fitting. And to make matters, even better for them, most of these people don't pay out of their pockets. They're on Medicaid, they're on Medicare. So they're paying either a very small deductible or supplemental, and they're getting glasses, and they've got a ton of glasses that are very reasonably priced. They don't compete at all with, the major brands that are advertising on TV. None of these old people would ever think of going anywhere else. So here's someone that's really hyper focused. The final one is a golf pro. I'm a golfer, not a very good one, and I just kind of got back to it in the last couple months. And if you look at golfing advertising, because I have it bombarded at me now, because the minute you sign up for anything related to golf, now every Facebook ad and every promotion is aimed at me. But there's a lot of different types of golfers. There are golfers that are handicapped scratch golfers. I mean, these are people that are really good. And then they're interested in what's the latest technology, what's the latest techniques. And if you're talking to those people and, you mention anything like you would to me, which is like, hey, how'd you like to just drop 5 points? How'd you like to get under 100? You're going to totally miss out on those people because they're going, hey, I'm way beyond that. So there are so many different hyper markets in that space, both for equipment, for training, and understanding where you live in that space will enable you to really find a language that you can use for these people. Now, as I talked about the surveys before, I literally get on the phone with people, ask them the questions, and shut up. I fight the tendency to talk to them. But when you ask someone, hey, when it comes to hiring a golf pro, or when it comes to buying an online golf training program, what's your biggest fear? And I listen and I write exactly what the people tell me, because I want to see, if I talk to 10, 12, 15 people, you don't have to talk to hundreds of people. You want to see what's the common thread. What are the common catchphrases that you hear? Because if you can really hyper down your market into a niche, and you can talk to those people, and you can actually see an individual that looks like your target market in your mind, now you can start talking to them, recording videos, producing sales copy, producing blog articles that talk overtly to that person. And that is extremely important in this quest to get noticed. As a final slide, I'm going to leave this kind of as an exercise. Pick a very specific target niche for each of these. Like, for example, for pet groomers, pick pet groomers that are targeting the elderly retired with very small dogs. For physical trainers, there's a big difference between dealing with people that want to lose weight, dealing with moms postpartum, dealing with people with dad bodies that want to fix that, or dealing with an elite bodybuilder and their needs. And you would talk to all of these audiences very different. Do the same for the lawn service and the nail salon. And now answer the questions about the biggest fears, frustrations, and challenge. What I think you're going to find, and I'm absolutely sure you're going to find, is this exercise is so much easier, because once you understand your niche extremely well, the marketing to that niche becomes a lot easier. And if you've picked a niche that you really like, that you can really get into, that you can really relate to, then the job becomes that much easier, because it's just natural. And if you have to record a video, if you have to write some copy, it's not going to be a string like, what do I say? It's kind of like, this is what I say because I talk to these people all the time, assuming you're in that business, and I know how to talk to them once I've identified my very specific niche.